Welcome back to the channel, guys. I just watched the She-Hulk finale, and these are my initial thoughts on it. So, I already made a video about episode 8, and you already know, like, what's the point of watching this show is what I think about it. And episode 9, literally, it's the same sentiment. Like, why, after watching it, I'm just like, why would I ever even watch the show? I'm never going to watch season 2. The only reason to watch season 2 would be to understand a plot in a movie, I guess. But of course, this video is going to have spoilers in it. Um, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, then you probably want to click off right now because I'm going to go into them pretty much. So obviously, everyone was right, and Todd was the bad guy. He's Hulk King. They kind of waste a lot of time for this reveal that everybody already knew was going to happen. Pug and I don't even know the best friend's name. They sneak, do a little infiltrating and figure out the was it Intelligentsia's plans or whatever. And they're just a bunch of dudes complaining about women, and it's really annoying. Like the way that they make little comments. Like the dude, he says something like, "Why does there need to be a She-Hulk? There's no He-Hulk. So what's the point?" And they just complain about women. And he's like, I don't like She-Hulk, but it's not because she's female. And it's like self-inserting or whatever, not self-inserting, but inserting the people who don't like your show into the show is so lame. It's probably the lamest thing you could do, to be honest. Like, imagine if they did that in the Avengers movies. Like, if in Avengers Infinity War. So imagine you're watching the Avengers and they made a whole scene in the movie about how, the Avengers is there's a sect of people who don't like the Avengers movies, and they make a scene about them like, oh, these people are dumb because they think this. I'm like, instead of making a scene where dudes complain about the show, like, make reasons why the show is good. Like, no good TV show has ever done that. Like, think about Boondocks. They had an episode where this woman talks about all the things that she likes about the show. She's basically a stand-in for the fans of Boondocks. Or an Avatar. They made a play making fun of the stuff that people liked and the stuff that people didn't like, but they didn't shit on the fans. It's that's how you know the show is shit. So Abomination is in this episode, and he takes his Abomination form, and we don't know if Abomination is like evil or not. I mean, he's not doing anything evil in this particular scene. He's just there for the money, but he's breaking his agreement that he'll never turn into the Abomination form, right? But then we get a short little post-credit scene with Wong breaking Abomination out of prison again. So, like, is Abomination evil, or like, is Wong evil? Is he good? Is Abomination good? What's going on here? And then look at what they did with the Hulk and Scar. They introduced Scar in this. And the very end of the episode, the only interesting thing in the show, they introduced for like 1 second. And of course, we're going to put him in season 2. It's going to try to entice you to watch season 2, but there's no way. There's just no way. They talk about how, like, the show has all these stupid plot lines and stuff, and they're cliche and whatever. But, like, they did them. So it's like you wrote this. So they wrote a really terrible story just so at the end they can make fun of the fact that the story was stupid, and then they kind of just say, oh, we could just not do it. That's the joke. The joke is like, these story points are cliche and stupid, so let's just not do them. She breaks the fourth wall to then go to the headquarters of Disney and erase everything. Just erase all the terrible plot lines in the story and just end it like that. It's just terrible. That's probably the worst. Like, this is the worst story I've ever seen in my life. Instead of making a joke that your story's terrible, why don't you just make a good story? Right? Why wouldn't you just make a good story? All the writers, it's a bunch of women, and I feel like the writers just, and there's one guy, but I feel like the writers just wanted to be in the episode. This is just an excuse for them to actually cameo in an episode so they can get royalties, pretty much. They're gonna get paid for this, for making this terrible show. They don't deserve any money. They probably have millions. They probably kept that money, to be honest. Scammed us. But anyways, this whole series was pointless and terrible. It wasn't funny. Like, they ended by saying, like, none of this stuff mattered. All the stuff that you watched didn't matter, and we're just going to erase it, and it's just going to end. And she didn't solve the problem. She just erased everything. And basically, like, instead of doing all of that, they should have just made a comedy. They could have just had She-Hulk running around being goofy, or encountering goofy people, or something. Maybe some heroism in there. Doesn't have to be. Could have just been clever jokes about what people would do with superpowers. You find out you can turn into the Hulk. If you were a girl and you could turn into the Hulk, like, what would you do with that? You'd probably do a lot of funny stuff with that. You know, they could have, like, they had potential. They had the dudes attack her, and then she's like, oh, I can turn into the Hulk. They could have done something funnier where, like, a guy tries to rob her, and then she turns into the Hulk. You know, they could have played that for laughs instead of it being some little arc in a story. Like, the arc that doesn't matter, it doesn't pay off. He turns into the Hulk Josh or whatever, or Todd. Yeah, his name's Todd. Hulk Todd, but then they literally just erase it. So why even do that? Just make a story where she just goes around being She-Hulk. It doesn't have to be interconnected with the MCU. It doesn't have to do anything. She could literally just go around bullying people. Maybe she has an episode where she's like, oh, I'm strong, so I can bully everyone, and the people get tired of her. Have an episode where she's like new to it, so like someone bullies her and she's like, oh, I can turn into the Hulk. Something like that. I don't know. That would be a lot more entertaining. So yeah, this show is trash. This show was garbage. Anyone who says this show is good, like, I don't know what you watched. And then this ending of the show was like the worst part. It was just really half-assed. This whole episode felt half-assed, but this part right here, check it out, guys. So she just kind of turns back into her. She's just like, fuck you. He goes to jail. Daredevil shows up, and he's a joke now. I'm like, everything in a comedy doesn't have to be a joke. You could have a serious moment, but she's just goofing around. And he's being stupid, of course. Pug acted really retarded in this episode, in particular. So now Daredevil is going to be a part of She-Hulk in the future, I guess. Like, they're dating or something. Or they're in a situationship, I guess. But nobody wants this. Why would Daredevil, like, hang around in this bright, colorful world? Daredevil is supposed to be dark. He's grim. He's not supposed to be smiley and happy. So I don't know where they're going to go with that. And I'm not going to watch season 2 for this reason and many others. I can't believe this. I might have to watch it to make more videos. I don't know. I need the money. I'm broke right now. This show is incredibly bad, and I don't know if the people who wrote it believe it's good, because there's no way. But this is what's really ridiculous. Like, they wasted so much potential the Hulk just comes back and he's like, "This is my son," and then they just skip to the next thing. And look at Scar. He's like, what's going on with his hair?
Is that Zac Efron?